Hi there, welcome to the Color Cinema. My name is Aaron, and I guess this is the hottest of hot takes. I grew up in the 80s. I was a teen then, and I remember when Twin Peaks came on the air for the first time. It was kind of a sensation. It's literally what you would call the water cooler show. You watch it one night, and everybody would be talking about it the next day. And that went on for about the first season and a little bit of the second. Then many people kind of turned on the show. They thought it got too weird. It got too strange. It it was going. They thought it was going in directions that it probably shouldn't have. Didn't agree with some of the characterization and some of the way that the arcs were going. The way that some of the storylines had taken a turn. They weren't big on the Wyndham Earl storyline. I loved it all, actually. I really enjoyed it. And it would be like years before that second season would even get kind of a critical reappraisal. And years upon years later, before we'd actually see a return to Twin Peaks, but it would be nothing like anybody assumed it would be. It would again be different, be unique, be strange, and be its own twisted thing. And again, I really enjoyed it. Though it did take me a little bit longer. But I'm not here to talk about Twin Peaks per se. I am in kind of a modern day perspective. For years later, there were many shows that tried to ape and do what Twin Peaks did to try and catch that lightning in a bottle. But lightning in a bottle is not something that's easy to catch or something that can be replicated. It's something that comes about by accident. When you try to make a bad movie, you end up making, and make it successful, make it a camp movie. 9 times out of 10, you just end up making a bad movie because the reason that a movie became camp or bad in the first place, was through the earnestness of people that were actually working on making something that they thought perceived to be really good. So when Twin Peaks went and did its Lynchian Mark Frost type thing, that was their thoughts and their style. People could ape and try to be similar to it, try to be weird and quirky. But if you're weird and quirky without knowing why, then you're just a show that's trying to be weird and quirky. Me, myself, I am a weirdo. Probably due to growing up with Twin Peaks and shows like that. So what I wanted today was, what's the modern equivalent to Twin Peaks? Has a show actually done it and not realized that they did it? Have they done it and the audience, by far and large, unfortunately, not realize that they did it? There is a show. There is a show that if you were big on Twin Peaks back in the day, that does have that aesthetic and that feel to it. And it's organic because it's not a show that's trying to do Twin Peaks or be Twin Peaks. Its oddity just comes about in a weird, unique way. And it kind of reminds me of what I think Twin Peaks could have became, could have morphed into if it had been given a longer lifespan. There had been, like any other show, would have had its peaks and valleys. Would have been up, would have been down. We would have gone around to some uniquely different stuff, and would have eventually got to where Twin Peaks is at right now, which is its own weird, multi-unique universe. And what show rings true to that? What show started with a murder mystery in a unique town with some very different characters that eventually spun out into different murder mysteries and different storylines and different quirks and characters that didn't seem like real, and eventually went into, at this point, an aspect where it is almost kind of leaned in to all of the criticisms, and has done exactly what it probably should have done a couple years ago. See, Twin Peaks had the beauty of going off and coming back years later, letting people have time enough to appreciate it for what it was and what it could become. People just wanted to see Twin Peaks come back so they could be part of that, so they can enjoy that experience. So when Twin Peaks came back and became something completely different, people were just glad to see it there. And that's where Riverdale comes in. Riverdale was a show that a lot of people, myself initially included when I heard about it, had written off as just another CW show, just another teen drama. And the first season of that show had a compelling, well thought out murder mystery with characters that I actually kind of felt for and related to, especially Jughead. I can relate to that character a lot. And here's the thing. It didn't stop after 2 seasons. It had 2 wacky seasons with some ups and downs in the second season, a la Twin Peaks. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Oh, this Riverdale, it's a CW show. How can this be like this highly heralded, highly regarded show? And I get you. I understand where you're coming from. But let's, take off the nostalgia glasses for a second. Twin Peaks is an amazing series. But Twin Peaks was a series that, if you go back to people that watched it during the time that it was on, they will tell you that much like Riverdale, Twin Peaks courted that same type of criticism in its second season. And you can bet that if it had gone on and did more of what it was already doing, it would have got the same type of derision and criticism that Riverdale got. Riverdale lasted long enough now to, I'm going to guess that it's going into its 7th season. It's probably going to be its last. That they had decided, let's lean into this. Let's lean into this whole supernatural aspect and uniqueness and quirkiness that's been on the cusp of the series the entire time. And some people think of it like, oh my God, Riverdale has jumped the shark with this aspect of the show. I think, no, this is exactly where it needed to be. It has its own unique type of quirkiness, its own unique type of humor, its own type of storyline. But it's the closest thing that I've ever seen in my TV watching years that has come even remotely close to what Twin Peaks did. And not just on the surface level. Both of these shows are headlined by a showrunner that really had like a deep thought on what this should be, what this could be. Both of those ideas, whether it be Twin Peaks, which at the time was taking the standard nighttime television soap and turning it on its head and doing its own unique, weird, wonderful version of it, to a show that's taking your typical, what could be your typical teen drama or your typical comic book show, and taking that and subverted that and turned it to its own unique, twisted idea of what it can be, and has done it successfully. Twin Peaks has had a few years to go off the air, a few years to come back, and it has got exactly the type of praise it deserved. Actually, in the first place, it was an amazing show with incredible music and wonderfully shot and beautifully acted and uniquely, superly made for weirdos like me. And you know what? So was Riverdale. You had right here your modern day, not trying to be, it's not Twin Peaks, not trying to be Twin Peaks, but your own modern day kind of idea, possibly the thought on the show that could become it. See, there's a lot of shows that tried to become it, but only one show really kind of did it right without even really trying. So the show is probably going to end next year. If you watched it a bit and you stop watching, I recommend checking it out again. Sure, there are some times when it gets a little rough around the edges, but not every season 2 episode of Twin Peaks was a home run either. About the overall experience, the joy of it all was definitely worth it in the long run. So what do I think is going to happen in the future? I think that this is a show, Riverdale is going to turn it to one of those shows, much like Twin Peaks, but unlike Twin Peaks, it wasn't heralded in its own time like it should have been, but will be something that'll get a critical reappraisal in the future. So there you go. What's the new Twin Peaks? Well, it's been on for the last 6 seasons. It's going into its 7th next year, and probably this year actually. And if you missed out on it, check it out. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, definitely check it out. Trust me, there's going to be some rough spots there where you're going to be like, do I really want to do this? There's one season that does get a bit rough, but follow it through. Sit down, maybe while you're doing it, get a damn fine cup of coffee and enjoy yourself. Because for Twin Peaks fans that didn't know it, the show you were kind of waiting for, kind of jonesing for, where you're waiting for the next season Twin Peaks or the next new Twin Peaks to come around. It's been around for a while. I'm Aaron. This is the Call to Cinema. There is always another TV show. There's always another hot take. But there's only one of you. So remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will see you soon, right here in this weird, unusual place that we call the Cult of Cinema.